Okay, Haribo. Thank you. I need to adjust this though. Thank you. Okay, I need to learn how to do that. Can you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll teach you.
After, order after. Not now. Late already.
You managed to do it? Managed to do it?
Yeah. Thank you. And then please bring this up.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Wait. That's not. Haribo. Haribo. Yes, Hare Krishna. Maybe put. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So thank you everybody for coming to the Bhagavad Gita class. Sorry for the delay in starting. We'll start off with the short kirtan, and please do respond. Be call in response, just a short 5-minute kirtan. Ram Lakshmana Hanuman ki, Shishi Gaur Nitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So just seeking blessings from everybody present here online and from Guru and Krishna that may say something useful. So again, today we're going to be discussing chapter 3, verse 20 of the Gita. So I'm just going to recite the invocation prayers. If you know them, please do join in. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shra Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Shra. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pete Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, thank you so much for coming again to the Bhagavad Gita class for today. So I'll recite the verse and maybe I'll have one person to repeat because we're short of time. But Karmaneva hi samsiddhim. Please repeat. Karmaneva hi samsiddhim. Karmaneva hi samsiddhim. Astita janakadaya. Astita janakadaya. Astita janakadaya. Loka sangram evapi. Loka sangraham evapi. Loka sangraham evapi. Sampasyan kartumarhasi. Sampasyan kartumarhasi. Sampasyan kartumarhasi. I'll go for the word-for-word translation. Please repeat after me. Karmana, by work. Eva, even. He, certainly. Samsiddhim, imperfection. Astita, situated. Janakadaya, Janaka and other kings. Loka Sangram, the people in general. Eva Api, also. Samspayan, considering. Kartum, to. Act. Arhasi, you deserve. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. Please repeat after me. Kings such as Janaka attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. And the purport is, kings like Janaka were all self-realized souls. Consequently, they had no obligation to perform the prescribed duties in the Vedas. Nonetheless, they performed all prescribed activities just to set examples for the people in general. Janaka was the father of Sita and father-in-law of Lord Sri Ram. Being a great devotee of the Lord, he was transcendentally situated. But because he was the king of Mithila, a subdivision of the Bihar province in India, he had to teach his subjects how to perform prescribed duties. Lord Krishna and Arjun, the Lord's eternal friend, had no need to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra, but they fought to teach people in general that violence is also necessary in a situation where good arguments fail. Before the battle of Kurukshetra, every effort was made to avoid the war, even by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the other party was determined to fight. So for such a right cause, there is a necessity for fighting. Although one who is situated in Krishna consciousness may not have any interest in the world, he still works to teach the public how to live and how to act. Experienced persons in Krishna consciousness can act in such a way that others will follow, and this is explained in the following verse. So, Krishna, having described the process of sacrifice as yajna, and having stated that human sacrifice is essential, and that only by sacrifice can one attain the purpose of life. So Krishna basically said life has only got meaning when you perform sacrifice, because a life lived otherwise is a life lived in vain. And this is what Krishna explained earlier, where he said, when he explained when in verse 16 of this chapter, he said, "My dear Arjun, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice, thus established by the Vedas, certainly leads a life full of sin. Living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such a person lives in vain." So, one who is taking pleasure in the self and not in the outside objects of the senses is situated on the spiritual platform, and he has no external prescribed duties to perform. At the same time, he has no reason to not perform these duties also. Therefore, he performs such prescribed duties for the sake of educating everyone else, although he has no need to do so because he is transcendentally situated. He is beyond either being required to perform his prescribed duties or avoiding his prescribed duties, and therefore he continues to work without attachment to the fruits of his actions. The difference between human life and animal life is that there is some regulation in human life, and the regulation is that we act according to certain codes. We have certain prescribed duties. Any human society that does not require a human to act in certain ways is not a human society. The closer our set of guidelines are in line with what God has created for us, the more human we become. Otherwise, we are more and more animalistic. Prescribed duties are meant for achieving a higher spiritual purpose because prescribed duties require some restrictions. It is an imposition. The living entities in this world are here for the purpose of enjoyment, to exercise a false sense of independence. They want to do whatever they like, anytime they like. They simply want to act according to their impulse, just like a child. If you study the behavior of a child, you will know exactly what it means to act simply on the basis of the whims and the senses. A child's mind is very fickle. Therefore, it goes from one object to another, and the child is acting solely for its own pleasure without consideration of rules and regulations. So if you ever had a child, if you have a child at home, so I have my niece, her mind is fickle. She'll be like, read this book, read the Wheels on the Bus book, and then she'll be like, then she'll point to the other book and she'll be like, no, this one. So children can't really, the minds of children are fickle and they keep changing their mind, right? Shishi Radha Gokula Nanda Ki Jai. So no restrictions, no prohibitions, no do's and don'ts. Animals are also like this. They have concept of time, place, and circumstance. They can do anything, everything, anyhow. There's no morality or regulations for them. So because this is the nature of the conditioned living entity, this is a disease. Because he doesn't want to surrender to Krishna and serve Krishna. To restrict this disease mentality, certain restriction is required. Certain rules and regulations are required. Just as the patient has to follow restrictions imposed by a doctor in order to get cured. So therefore, in order to free oneself from bad tendencies, one follows prescribed duties, even though one may not like them sometimes. The conditioned living entities likes to follow the path of least resistance. The easiest path to do anything, the most convenient path to the senses. Whatever the mind and senses dictate at that time, that is the tendency of the living entity to act in that way. We all have that experience. Suppose we are waking up for Mangalarti. The mind sometimes may say, what's the need? And I'm so tired, let's go back to sleep. That's what the mind would say. So we must execute our intelligence to tell the mind, no, now I must get up. When we're chanting our rounds, have you ever noticed devotees sleeping whilst they're chanting? Right? Sleep is threatening to overcome our consciousness. So we have to use our intelligence and become determined to avoid that and concentrate on the holy name. Even in material life, we have many duties and it is a constant struggle for devotees to stick to these prescribed duties and avoid deviating from them as the mind dictates. So it is very easy to take the path of least resistance when we are chanting, and if the mind says we are feeling sleepy, automatically you think, okay, let's go to sleep, because it's convenient, as you don't have to struggle, you simply have to go to sleep. That is the tendency as we experience the resistance there. There is no trouble or botheration. But the intelligence dictates, no, even though chanting may seem like a botheration, don't sleep, chant. So performing prescribed duties is going against the condition of the living entity to take the path of least resistance, to take the easy path. So, prescribed duties means that we may sometimes do things that may appear difficult or unpalatable. We may have to get up in the morning in the winters. We may have to cook in the hot summers in the kitchen. So prescribed duties are necessary to bring discipline and regulation in the life of a human being without which without a higher goal cannot be achieved. Even for materialistic pursuits, one needs to have regulation. Just imagine the lives of athletes and Olympic sports people. In order to achieve the Olympic gold medal, they have to regulate their lives so much. How much do they have to suffer and torture their body and their mind? It's tremendous struggle. So although that pursuit has nothing to do with Krishna consciousness, but still, because they are convinced of that goal, they do it. Subjectively, they put themselves through tremendous inconvenience. They also rise before Brahma Muhurta. They also do their exercises and jogging and whatever they have to do way before everybody else gets up. And that's how they're able to accomplish a goal. So also, spiritually, that is called tapasya, austerity. So austerities don't necessarily mean physical austerities. Even the fact that we are simply following the prescribed duties that are expected of us in our various positions in life is in itself an austerity, especially in Kali Yuga, when no one wants to follow any prescribed duties. There are prescribed duties for the brahmachari, grihastha, and vanaprastha. There are prescribed duties for a husband, for a wife, for a son, for a daughter, for a father, a mother, etc. There are prescribed duties for everyone in every situation of life. And each prescribed duty is a botheration because it is an imposition on the mind to do something we may not sometimes want to do. But still, we do it. And therefore, by the continued austerity of sticking to one's prescribed duties, one achieves success. Success is ultimately achieved by those who persevere in performance of prescribed duties. Just as, if we persevere to chant the holy name, despite the fact the mind may give trouble, the many disturbances and ups and downs in life, and go ahead with perseverance and tolerance, success will be ours in the end. So there are material prescribed duties which are prescribed duties on the platform of the body, and there are prescribed duties on the platform of the soul. Both swadharmas must be performed, right? We cannot artificially reject the swadharma of the platform of the body unless one is on that platform. So here, Krishna is explaining that of the two kinds of swadharma, the material swadharma that has to deal with the varna ashram situation, and the psychophysical nature of the body. Krishna says those duties must be performed even if one is situated on the spiritual Swadharma platform, even though he actually doesn't need to do these activities, but still one does it. And then he gives the example of King Janak and other great kings in history, who simply by performance of prescribed duties achieved perfection. Of course, performing prescribed duties according to the Varna ashram system is very difficult nowadays. But in the earlier days, people used to do their natural course, and one could achieve very, very elevated positions simply by doing that. For example, it is said that if one very meticulously performs his prescribed duties for 100 lifetimes, continuously, without a second thought, he could achieve the position of Brahman. Just imagine, just to do your prescribed duties according to your Varna and your ashram perfectly for 100 lifetimes, and you could become the chief living entity in this universe. What a great exalted position to achieve from a material point of view. The highest position you could ever hope to achieve, materially speaking. So by performance of prescribed duties, many things could be achieved. It is in fact one of the acts of piety to continue doing these activities. So these prescribed duties, according to Varna ashram, they could elevate us. But at the same time, if one does not consider the spiritual objective behind the performance of these prescribed duties, then one will be misled. One's performance of prescribed duties will ultimately be in vain, because one will remain within the material world. Because even if one achieves Brahma's position by performing one's prescribed duties for 100 lifetimes perfectly, one will still come back to this material world if one is not a devotee of the Lord. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his conversation with Ramananda Rai, so Ramananda Rai suggested that by only following the rules and regulations of Varna ashram system and one's prescribed duties was the ultimate goal of life. So that's what he said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And to this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, this is external, go on speaking. He didn't want to say that one should not perform his prescribed duties according to Varna and ashram. But what he was saying is that the performance of these prescribed duties must always be seen in relation to our ultimate goal in life, which is Krishna consciousness. It cannot be whimsical either way. One may say, I am performing my prescribed duties, so I don't have to bother about the spiritual objective. And the second may say, well, I'm following Krishna consciousness, so I don't have to follow any prescribed duties, according to the Varna and ashram. Either is not appropriate for a devotee. When one follows the prescribed duties, the Vishnu Purana says it is as good as attaining Vishnu, if one sees it like that. But still, in order to attain Krishna Prem, to get pure love of Godhead, one has to do some positive spiritual activity also. Simply dovetailing one's activities in prescribed duties is not sufficient. Positive spiritual activity means it's like chanting the holy names and the 9 processes of bhakti. Can anyone tell me what these 9 processes of bhakti are? Okay, I'll give you a start. Hearing is number 1. Saying, chanting. Remembering, yes, Shravanam. Kirtanam, yes. Praying, yes. Deity, anybody else? Sorry, looking, not quite, but deity worship. Okay? Serving the lotus feet, yes. being a friend, surrendering everything to Krishna. Very good. And we've got one more, which is servant, dasyam, being a servant. Yeah, so these are, we must try and perform these as well. So kings in the past, like King Janak, performed their prescribed duties for many lives, and they achieved the platform of self-realization. But in order to set an example for the world at large, they continued to perform their prescribed duties. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that King Janak was a great devotee of the Lord. Otherwise, how could he have achieved the position of being the father-in-law of God himself, Ram? So he was in a superior position to the Lord, like Dasharath Maharaj. So how can anyone but a great devotee of the Lord achieve such a position? The Lord doesn't give everyone the opportunity to have such an intimate relationship with him. He would only allow his most near and dear devotees to play such a role in this world. And because King Janak had daughters who were to get married, he very faithfully organized the Swayamvar competition, where a worthy contestant would marry his daughter Sita. Janak had two daughters, Sita and Urmila. When Vishwamitra Muni had taken Lord Ram and Lakshman out from a heartbroken King Dashrath for the purpose of killing some Rakshasas and Asuras who were disrupting the peaceful lives of the ascetics like King Vishwamitra and others, then Vishwamitra Muni eventually had planned out to unite the Lord's eternal concert of the Lord with the Lord himself. So then he said, well, there is a Swayambhara ceremony, a competition being organized by King Janak of Mithila, and he has a very beautiful young daughter who is very qualified, so he should go there to win her hand in marriage. In obedience to the command of Vishwamitra Muni, Lord Ram went there along with Lakshman, and there was a huge bow. The bow was so huge that it took 5,000 men to pull it on a cart, and still they had great difficulty, and no one else could even lift the bow. But Lord Ram not only lifted the bow, he strung it and broke it as easily as an elephant breaks a stick of sugarcane. When Lord Ram cracked the bow, When Lord Ram cracked the bow, there was a sound, the deafening sound, and it was described that everybody but Janak, Vishwamitra Muni, and Lakshman fell to the ground, nearly fell unconscious. So Janak and Ram performed their prescribed duties, and the bow, and so let's have a look this way. So Janak and Ram performed the prescribed duty, and the bow was broken. Then King Janak proposed the other two sons of Dasharath Maharaj should also get married to the daughters of his younger brother. So Lord Ram got married to Sita Devi, Lakshman to Urmila, Bharat got married to Kushtwaja's younger daughter, Sutakirti. Janak Maharaj's younger brother, older daughter, Manvi, and Shatrughan got married to his younger daughter, Shrutakirti. So Janaka was doing all his worldly duties perfectly, although he was a self-realized soul and had no reason to do these formalities in life, because he could easily have gone to the forest and given up his kingdom. but he knew he had to set the example. Therefore, here Krishna says, King like Janaka and others achieved perfection in life by performance of the prescribed duties, even though they were situated on the platform of perfection. But nevertheless, just for the sake of people in general, they did everything in life. So, Krishna is telling Arjuna, so must you. Just for the sake of educating the people in general and setting the proper example for them, you must perform your prescribed duties. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that even Krishna and Arjuna themselves performed the prescribed duty of fighting. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and Krishna was also playing the part of a Kshatriya. Of course, Krishna's example is very unique because in Vrindavan he was playing the part of a Vaishya, of being a coward boy as Gopal. But in Dwarka, Krishna was a Kshatriya. So even Shishupal was confused of Krishna's identity. So when Shishupal was blaspheming Krishna like anything in the Rajasuya sacrifice, one of the points he made was, who knows this Varna of this Krishna? You're all saying he is fit to receive the Agra Puja, the most worthy person of worship, but one doesn't even know his caste. What is his Varna? What is he? Actually, Shishupal was right. Why? Because Krishna is beyond the Varnas. He is beyond the ashramas. Krishna has nothing to do with the Varnashram system, except that he has created it for us. Krishna is never entangled in his own creation. He is never subject to the limitation that his creation imposes on the conditioned living entities within the creation. So he has nothing to do with the Varna ashram system. And yet, when he comes to this world, he also acts as if he was a Kshatriya or a Vaishya according to the situation. That is his pastime. For Krishna, it is called Leela, but for us, it is called prescribed duties. Prescribed duties means we have no choice, but Leela means it is Krishna's sweet will. But Krishna still performed it very dutifully. As a Vaishya, every day Krishna would go and herd the cows without fail. And similarly, as a Kshatriya, he performed his duties perfectly. And as a householder, he also performed his duties perfectly. And he was with all 64,000 queens at the same time. And yet he was able to keep them satisfied. He performed all his religious duties as a grihastha, worshipping the fire, touching sacred water, giving charity to the brahmanas, chanting the Gayatri mantra, and many other things. So there was no need for him to fight, strictly speaking. Yet it was Krishna who used Arjuna as an instrument to destroy his enemies. Right? Yes, it was him. He caused friction between the hard twig-like, branch-like demons of the world, who rubbed against each other, and the friction caused fire and burnt them all. So Krishna arranged the battle of Kurukshetra so that all the demoniac kings could kill each other and lessen the burden of the earth, and used Arjuna as a chief instrument to do this. In any case, Krishna was the doer. He was the one who accomplished everything on the battle of Kurukshetra, but externally it didn't appear so. Externally, he used so many other instruments. But even externally, Krishna could have been the sole cause of the killer. And he could have killed everybody just by a thought or a wave of his hands. And he could have reduced the Kaurava army to ashes in 1 second. But still, Krishna had to play the role of a Kshatriya as a charioteer. So Krishna also performed his duties to set the right example. Prabhupada mentions in the purport that Krishna and Arjuna fought in the war to teach the principle to the world that sometimes when good arguments fail, then fighting is necessary. That is the Kshatriya principle. A Kshatriya by nature is fond of war. He likes to fight. So now because Krishna and Arjuna realized that good arguments had failed, then there was a need for violence. So they fought to teach this principle that violence is sometimes necessary. And Prabhupada also explains in the end of how a devotee should act in this world. Prabhupada says, although one who is situated in Krishna consciousness may not have any interest in the world, he still works to teach the public how to live and how to act. Experienced persons in Krishna consciousness can act in such a way that others will follow. And this is explained in the following verse. So as devotees, also, we must set the example for the rest of the world. Even simple things like proper behavior in public, when we're going out to the street, when we're traveling, for every small thing, even inside a temple, where we have public coming in, we have to set the proper example. Otherwise, people will be dissuaded from the path of religion and will lose faith. Even amongst each other, it is our duty to set the right example to each other by performing our Krishna consciousness very diligently and by acting very compassionately and properly. So as devotees, we must be even more careful to perform careful, because our actions may determine how the faith of other people is affected in Krishna consciousness. Similarly, many of you are probably parents, right? Parents, we're leaders. You're leaders for the future generation, and yeah, you could. It's a huge impact on. Has a huge the way you the personal example of a parent has a huge impact on the child. The child often imitates the parent. Like my niece, she imitates us. So it's nice. Now she imitates us doing arti because she sees that every day.